everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope you can hear me. This is Ben Carnevale from Sun City Live Streams. I hope you guys can hear me out there. Today is July 23rd of 2019, and I decided that it's time to have a live stream talking about our city budget from the city council meeting. But I'm only going to talk about the portion where they discussed the budget from today, their proposal, and we're going to go over a news article here that Aaron Montes put together for us at the El Paso Times. So I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and hope everybody's doing good tonight. It's not as hot outside today, so that's great news for those of us who are dealing with this 100-degree heat. For those of you guys who don't live in El Paso, you don't have to deal with this heat. Maybe it's how where you are, maybe it is, but it was been dreadful here. We finally came below the 100-degree mark for a few days, and it's been fantastic. Nice little breeze outside. Give me just a second. We'll start here in a moment. I just wanted to share this on a couple of other pages. If you guys could share this as well with your followers, the more the merrier, because this is extremely important. El Paso, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 18 or if you're 80. What we're going to discuss today is vital to our future, okay? This is why it's so important that you guys follow this live streams. I'm going to break it down very simplistic. I'm not going to get into much detail because it's not necessary. We're not all accountants. We don't need to be accountants to understand basic principles of the economy. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's really not that hard for people to understand the way city budgets work. Well, apparently it is hard because our city council doesn't seem to understand. But let me share this real quick on my page, and let's see what happens here. Let me go ahead and post it there. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, for those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. I'm not out and about anywhere right now. I'm not anywhere special at this day. I got some good stuff coming up this weekend, hopefully. If you guys want to watch the live streams. Been doing some stuff around town. I plan to go to other parts of town that seem to be having some changes that a lot of people have been used to seeing out there. That, for example, like I did the Sunland Park. That's going to be a ghost town here soon enough, but did Sunrise Center a few weeks ago. A lot of people were interested in that one, seeing how dead it is out there. I did the last Saturday, we went to the old Kmart on Dyer. There's also some curiosity about what's going on the east side at some places that have been abandoned. For those of you are in those side of town, you guys know what I'm talking about. So cool stuff coming around about this city, about giving some updates, what's happening. Sun City Live Streams is a whole array of video, where there be about cool stuff, concerts, shows, art shows, car shows, whatever. Or news, because it's a platform. I think it needs to be expanded so that people can see all sorts of things that they don't normally see. With that being said, some of you may have noticed I made a post the other day of an image of the something coming up in the future for Sun City Live Streams. It was called the Master Scavenger. Now that's going to be pretty cool, guys. Got something for you to see here in a few weeks about what the Master Scavenger is. Just be aware, I could tell you this much, there's going to be some pretty cool prizes with this little contest we have. So you want to stick around to find out what that's about. I won't talk too much about it in this video, but I will bring you updates as the days go by. In the next couple of weeks. Hope to start it in August. I'm working with some local businesses and to work all the details out. But let's just say it's going to be really cool, something that you can get involved with, and something where you can win some really cool prizes from places around town. So that's going to be fun, and I'm excited to bring that to you guys. Just a little extra bonus. A thank you for the followers. A thank you for the people who share. Unfortunately, it'll only be for people from El Paso, unless you guys want to fly in from out of town and participate in some of these contests. But it's going to be pretty cool. You guys are going to have fun. Okay, so enough with that. I thought it would be interesting to share with you guys exactly what's happening with the city council and why this matters. Like I said, I don't care if you're 18 years old. I don't care if you're 80 years old. This stuff is vital to our future here in this city because the city council is losing control of their budget. What that means to you and I is increased taxes. What that means to you and I in our increasing taxes means it's going to cost us more to live here. Okay? So you see the city always boasting. If you pay attention, you see the city boasting how, hey, we won the most affordable place to live contest or competition, or we've been awarded the city star or some crazy competition that they have in Denver. That's El Paso is such a great place and all this. And those are all cutesy little things. Okay, those are cutesy little awards, and cool, whatever, right? They're cutesy little awards, but they don't hit the heart and soul of what matters to people who live in El Paso. And people who are going to raise a family here in El Paso, people who are contemplating buying homes in El Paso, retiring in El Paso, businesses contemplating moving to El Paso, all these things matter. And what I'm going to talk to you about is that exactly that. It's because if we're not aware of this, people are going to make mistakes and they might invest improperly, or you might try to settle down here in El Paso and realize you might have made a mistake. But I'm going to share some things with you. First and foremost, the city budget's a mess. For those of us who don't understand what's happening in the city budget, I'm going to break it down very, very simply to you. Okay? The city council is spending more money than they're bringing in. I always tell people to compare it to their own household. If you're spending more money than you're bringing in, what does that mean? That means you're using your credit card, because you can't spend money that you don't have. So you have to get money from somewhere, and so a lot of people put it on plastic. Well, the city's really good at doing that. And how they do that is through bonds and other ways, certificate of obligations, things that the people don't necessarily approve of. So that's what our city's doing and has been doing for the last, I want to say good 10 years, probably even more, okay? Probably even more, just we got to go back and look. But the main starting point was 2012. Okay, now I presented a chart to everybody a few weeks ago on my own personal page, showing what that was, and it showed. And here's the kicker, guys. You got to understand is remember what I'm going to tell you here, because I want to bring it up again later. In 2012, we passed a quality of life bond. Everybody in El Paso, I don't care again what age you are, you've heard those words, quality of life. And it's a very nice ring. Oh, my quality of life is going to improve. They're going to do this, and my quality of life is going to be extravagant, and I'm going to live in my utopia that I've been dreaming about. Well, it was a $400-something million bond. And what a bond is the city needs money. They want to get your approval to borrow money or to sell bonds where they essentially borrowing somebody else's money. And they put it out to vote. And they tell you about all the good things, all the cool things about what you're going to get. You're going to get a baseball stadium. You're going to get the water parks or swimming pools. You're going to get, what else? You're going to get a museum for children. You're going to get a what is it called? The Mexican American Cultural Center. You're going to get all this cool stuff, and you're going to get this for the cops, and you're going to get this for the roads, and you're going to get all these things, and it's going to be great. And your parks are going to be beautiful, and the quality of life is just going to be amazing. Well, it never really turns out that way, because what happens is, yes, you want those things, and yes, we would love to have those things. But what happens when you go to the voting booth and you say, you know what, I approve this $400 million bond, which turned out to be $600 million because of their errors, which the city always makes. 600-something million. Anyways, when you go and vote yes for a quality of life bond, you're telling the city, go ahead and tax me some more. Go ahead and increase my taxes. That's what you're doing when you vote for a bond. Don't be mistaken about what a bond is. A bond is not money that comes out of thin air or grows on a tree somewhere. A bond is the city, the people of the city saying, sure, I'm happy to pay more taxes for these things. Okay? And that's all great. That's how cities raise money. But here's where the kicker comes in. When you approve a bond, when people of El Paso approve a bond, what that means is the city's already has a plan in place of what they're going to spend. But what our city doesn't tell you is that they've under budgeted for everything on the plan. It's every single thing that has been on the bond from 2012 that we passed for $400-something million was under budgeted. Possibly intentionally, because El Pasoans don't really pay attention, but it was nothing more than a bait and switch. Like I said, for the baseball stadium, for the what do you call it? You got the water parks that were never water parks; they were supposed to be swimming pool. When you got the not even at the Children's Museum that started out at $20 million is now $60 million. See, all these and then the Mexican American Culture Center got robbed, or may have been given more money, but it got robbed based on the definition of what it was supposed to be and what we were told. All of these things we've been lied to. But anyways, you get all that stuff and all the cutesy park things, the water parks, the water splash things in the parks, but you're paying like your taxes skyrocket. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up this screen real quick here. On my I can't do that. Let me go over here. Let me see, maybe I can do it here. I want to bring up this chart I drew for you guys a few days ago, and I want you to understand it while we're talking about it. Let me bring this up real quick here. Give me a second. Let me see how far down it went. Okay, I actually made a meme out of it because it's something that we need to start sharing a lot of. I got so many posters. Let me go here. But what it shows, guys, is it shows what happened after the quality of life bond. Here it is, right here. Let me see if I could share this screen with you guys. Okay, here it is. All right, let me show you this chart. Let me go down here. Where is it at? I don't have it here. Give me 1 second. Let me add it here. All right. Okay. You see this chart on the screen here? If you take a close look. Oh, that's not what I want. This one. If you take a close look at this chart, where this little arrow is down at the bottom here, it's not showing you, but that arrow shows you where the 2012 quality of life bond was approved. This is where we approved on the 2012 quality of life bond. And this increase here to the right, shooting up 34% in a matter of 7 years, is what happens when we passed the bond. People don't quite understand. We always say, oh, you know, my taxes have gone up. Why have my taxes gone up so much? Well, this is why, guys. The quality of life bond kicked in, and the city council was rushing to get all of their things done, all the things done that they promised us. The city council started ramming them through, and so they had no choice. But in order to pay the contractors, to pay the developers, they had to increase their revenues. See, the population only grew by like 2% over the course of the same period of time, but the taxes increased 34%. So that they were counting on some amazing growth. Okay, they were counting on some amazing growth, but it never happened. The growth never happened. And because the growth never happened, where are they going to get the revenue from? They have to tax us. That's the only way they're going to raise revenue. They're squeezing more juice out of the lime, the dried lime that is us, the El Paso people. They're squeezing all the juice already out of it, and so they had no choice but to increase taxes and put the burden on our shoulders even more than it already is. Okay? So that's this chart. Now, remember that. Okay, that's from the 2012 bond. We're going to talk about something here in a minute. But just keep this chart in the back of your mind, because this shows you what happened off of a $460, $473 million bond. This increase happened only on $473 million. Okay, now there's another bond coming up that some of you might know about, and some of you might not. But it's a $1 billion bond that they're looking to pass off to us here in a few months. So I tell you, if you reflect back to this chart, you see how our taxes have skyrocketed since 2012. Just wait to see what happens when that $1 billion bond is presented to the people of El Paso, and if it passes, how much higher our tax rate's going to go. All right, let's go back to what I was getting ready to initially talk to us about. All right. So Aaron Motes, one of the best, if not the best, reporters we have in El Paso, wrote an article today. And let me see if I can share this. Do I need to move this or something? All right, I want to share with you this. Let's read from the top here. So it says here at the very top, you probably can see it all. It says, city budget discussions continue. Commercial property valuations fall. Oh, commercial property valuations fall. That's going to be terrible. Now, some of you guys already know what that means. All right. Whenever property value falls on anything, that means the city loses revenue. All right. Because they're not able to collect taxes off of the original value they had estimated. So now they already estimated they were going to collect so and so many taxes. Because, guys, in the magical world of business and municipality budgeting, everything always goes up. Everything is always increasing in value. And that's a lie. That's the most bogus lie we've ever been told. But that's what they tell us. Values are only going to go up. Really? Well, it's going to look like, show you here, it's not the case. Of course, it's going to happen more than once and twice and 3 times. It happens over and over and over. Values are not what they estimate. They plan for this expensive stuff, but then they don't bring enough revenue in. So let's see what Aaron said to us here. All right, so he basically says here in his first paragraph, city officials were surprised to find that commercial property valuations fell in reports released by the Central Appraisal District, reigniting concerns about continued tax burdens on resident property owners. Now, just a brief explanation for those of you who don't know. Cities are supposed to run off of commercial property and industrial property taxes. That's and of course sales tax. But this city is flip-flop because nobody wants to bring businesses here and they're not bringing enough, the values of their buildings are not high enough. The city takes tax revenues from the people, and because our values continue to go up, our value of the houses and all the residents here is worth more than the commercial property. Okay, so what happens is the people, you and I, are funding the city budget, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around. It should be the corporations and the businesses supporting the city and us coming in to supplement it. But it's backwards in El Paso because that's the way our fantastic city council has done things the last few years. Okay, but anyways, budget discussions continued Monday as the El Paso prepares to adopt its finances and tax rate for the fiscal year 2020. Now, if you read this next paragraph, here's the kicker. City officials were puzzled by the decrease in the valuations. The first drop in at least 7 years. What happened 7 years ago, guys? What happened 7 years ago? I just showed you the chart. What happened 7 years ago was the quality of life bond. That's just a coincidence, right? 7 years ago, from 7 years, everything has increased in value. Now here we are 7 years later, boom, first time it's dropped in 7 years. Makes you wonder. All that money we spent on the quality of life hasn't made the quality of life much better because businesses don't see it. Corporations don't see it. They don't, if you're going to build quality of life, one of the biggest hopes is that the quality of life build that you do, investment that you do, attracts businesses into town so that they can bring people from out of town or their corporate headquarters or corporate offices here. Nobody's doing that because a Chihuahuas baseball stadium and a bust of a streetcar is not the ideal situation for a Fortune 500 company to move into. So obviously nobody's going to come in here. So the last 7 years we finally reached this point because there's an increase. Let's read on. Because there has been an increase in commercial construction for the last 3 fiscal years and amped up efforts in economic development. So what it's saying is that commercial construction has increased, but the values have gone down. The city saw almost $254 million in new commercial construction last year, a 3.5% increase from the year before. Now, makes you wonder if the commercial, meaning the buildings and the things that these corporations have brought in, these small companies have brought in, have been such a great boom, why the hell did the valuations of them go down? You got to think about it. You got to think about why those values went down. Well, guess what, guys? I'll put a link here. After this video is over, I'm going to put a link on top of this video. And it's going to show you. Some of you already know that the property value, the homestead taxes, our property value, our property taxes for our homes is the second highest in the nation. But a lot of you don't know that commercial property tax is number 1 in the country. El Paso's commercial property tax is number 1, the highest in the country. So these people get their valuations of their property and they're like, wait a minute, whoa. Just like you and I do, they run down to CAD, to the city appraisal district or the county appraisal district, and they say, what the hell is this? I'm challenging it. And they all challenge a few big ones, I'm guarantee you're going to find challenged, and they won. And their valuations went down because they can't afford the taxes here. If you keep commercial property tax too high, like the city has it, you run companies out of business, or you have them cutting labor, or you have them cutting hours, or you have them doing all kinds of different things to save money. And property taxes being so high, it's not hard to challenge in this city. Nothing happens. Someone was telling me today they live on the far west side where nothing has changed, but the property values have skyrocketed. Well, yeah, that's what happens when we bring things like Chihuahua Stadium, we bring things like Alamo Draft House. We bring things to have them artificially inflate our values, like if that increases the value of anything. That's why when people say, oh, I would love to have this in my neighborhood, I would love to have that in my neighborhood. Guys, do you really want new things that bad in your neighborhood that's going to drive up your property values even higher than they already are? Meanwhile, you look at the roads and they're a mess. You look at the police, they can't even have a pension properly funded. They can't even have the automobiles they need, or the police, the headquarters remodeled, or even a police station out in District 5 that they've desperately needed. All right, so we got to really keep an eye on what this city's doing. Instead, they're bringing things like Top Golf. They're bringing things like iFly or whatever the hell that thing's called, which is already in foreclosure and going bust. They bring things that companies that don't do anything for our economy. It's just fun stuff and food. There's no money being made there for the city. Okay, so they're doing the ridiculous things to try to grow this city, and it's not working. So let's continue to go down. Okay, so if you leave the next paragraph, commercial taxable properties went from 7.3 billion to 7.2 billion. That's a 0.6% reduction from last fiscal year. That means it's got to be made up somehow if they want to meet the budget that they're planning on this coming fiscal year. All right, now keep that in mind. Now see, this next paragraph says, generally cities look for commercial property value growth to help fund growing budgets associated with operating and management costs, and to alleviate the need to lean on residential property taxes. City Manager Tommy Gonzalez says it perfectly. This is cutting into muscle. Well, all right, guys. It says it's cutting into muscle, he says. But those muscles are not even really muscles. It's like a dude that's just gone to the gym for the first time and says, I got muscles. El Paso doesn't have muscles. Otherwise, the corporate, the tax for these commercial properties would be a lot higher. That's muscle. There's no muscle there. You and I are the muscle of the city. Our property taxes for the city that we pay for our properties is the muscle. So he needs to understand that the muscle that he's hurting is us, and he's not really cutting into much muscle on the other side. See, values came in, it says here, values came in last week with residential values. Now look at this, guys. Your property value, all of our property values increased 2.9%. But yet, the commercial property tax dropped. It dropped. 6% reduction, 0.6%. So you see how flip-flopped it still is. It's still flip-flopped. So if you keep going down, the city council is scheduled to adopt a budget and tax rate on August 20th. The city council also continued discussions about rolling out a bond initiative. Here it is, guys. A bond initiative, nearly $1 billion for the November 6th ballot. Guys, $1 billion, guys. $1 billion. Now, let me go back. Don't forget this chart. This increase of 34% was only off of $473 million. 34% off of $473 million. An increase. Now, what do you think the increase in taxes will be for a $1 billion bond? Anybody care to guess? Anybody care to guess how high our taxes are going to go if this bond passes in November? Jesus, man, I don't even know if the city can survive, how much the city can survive if this $1 billion bond goes through. So they're trying to figure out how to do it because they know the people are waking up, guys. People like I said, like Judd Burgess, like Max Grossman, Veronica Frescas, Rich Wright, John Hogan, all these people. Hell, you even have council members. You have District 2 and District 3 council members saying, whoa, 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 what's going on? You have people waking up. People making videos like this one and other videos waking people up to what's happening to their city. They know the people are waking up after they saw what happened with Lost Dog and how they lost that one. They're not confident they can get a bond to pass. And they're damn right. They shouldn't be confident because we're going to make sure that the people of El Paso understand what's happening before we vote for a bond to improve. Now they're calling it a what are they calling it? Okay, so essentially they had the survey that went around, the survey that the city passes out, and they asked people what are their biggest concerns, and the people of El Paso said, we think the roads are messed up, we need to fix our roads, and we need more public safety. Never mind we're the one of the most safest cities already, but we need more public safety, which is fine, and we need our parks done. Okay. So you want streets fixed, you want the police to be have better cars and more presence, you want more officers, and you want the fire department to be well, and you want the parks to be nice and green. Right, the Chime-in report, Judd, thanks. So you look at you see what they're putting out there. They're putting out this bond to tell you, you asked for it, here you go, guys. All you have to do is vote for it. Here's the $1 billion that you want us to spend. All you got to do is say yes. Never mind what it's going to cost you in your tax increases, but just say yes, and we'll do it for you. Because if you say no, you're the bad guy. If you say no to this bond, you're the bad guy because we offered and you turned it down. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I pay taxes every year. Every one of you watching and who live in El Paso pays your property taxes every single year for them to use it on roads, on police, on parks. Those are the things that the city should be doing at first. The priority should be these things. These are the things that the city is responsible for. These are the things that we pay them for. We don't pay them to build fancy water parks. We don't pay them to build multi-million-dollar children's museums, and we don't pay them to build bring a streetcar in here that's draining money. If you watched my presentation a few weeks ago on the streetcar and the water parks, you'll see that the water parks are they're not even finished. Their budget showed that they're going to lose $1 million a year collectively, and they're not even built. But those are black holes. Money is going to be disappearing before they're even built. And we're going to be dealing with this for years to come. Years to come. But they say, here's your bond. You want the roads. You want your parks. You want your police to be. And if you don't vote for it, you're wrong. But meanwhile, in the regular budget that they're going to pass, the regular annual budget that they have to pass, they're putting in the little cute things they want to do for this quality of life bond that we had before, because they haven't paid for it yet. So they know they messed up. They messed up, and they're trying to make up for it now because they got caught. They painted themselves into a corner, and they don't know what to do now because people are starting to get angry. They took for granted that the people were going to wake up, and we have woken up, and we're starting to fight back. And they're now trying to figure out a way to pay for things. And instead of saying, we're going to cut money here, we're not going to build this arena after all, we're going to hold it, we're going to put it on hold, we're not going to build this children's museum the way we designed it because it's way too expensive, we're going to put that on hold. Instead of saying they can't stop the water parks anymore, Okay, they can't stop water parks anymore because they already broke ground on all 4 water parks. So that's already spent. So they rush, guys. They rush to spend this money because they know we're going to catch on. And now they're trying to shove it down our throats and say, dang, if you want this police station, if you want your roads fixed, you're going to give us another $1 billion. That's absurd. Who does that? What city does that? Well, every city does that because the people are not awake. And that's exactly what Aaron Montes is writing in his article. See what he says here, that for now, the city has proposed $1 billion budget for the 2020 fiscal year and a 4-cent increase in property tax rate. And that rate is reflected on the chart I showed you. The operation and maintenance cost still sits below rollback rates, according to Robert Cortinas, the city's chief financial officer. All right, so let's go here. Let me go down here. Okay, District 6 Rep Claudia Perez. Now, Claudia Perez, I'm not going to go off on a tangent with her because Claudia Perez is just one of the worst, man. Just forget it. She's bought out. Claudia Perez is bought out. If you're watching, Claudia, you're bought out. Just admit it. Just admit you've been bought out by Foster, because we all could just look at your campaign finances. We know where you stand. Anyways, Claudia Perez asked if the reduction in commercial taxable property valuations had to do with businesses protesting their property values. Well, of course they did, and of course they are. Okay? Of course they are. Just like all of us protest our property values, they're going to do it as well. And Cortinas, who is the CFO, said the biggest commercial properties, including the former Western Refinery, El Paso Electric, and local hospitals had come to agreements over contested property valuations. But the appraisal district is still considering other property valuation protests and may be reporting a cushion or estimate of where variations may be when the agreements are finalized. He said he's going to look at okay, now look at this, guys. This is very important. Cortinas said he is going to, Cortinas is your financial officer who advises the city council, and he works for our lovely city manager. By the way, if you don't know about city manager Tommy Gonzalez came from Arlington over there in Central Texas. Essentially got kicked out and fired from that job because he didn't do a good job. All right, he's going to flaunt you these little awards that they give each other, and then they pat each other on the back and say, you did what we told you, the developers. Hey man, Tommy, you did a great job. You did what we asked you to do. You pushed these projects on the city council. You sold them. You got it. We're going to give you a cute little award. I don't care what award city manager Tommy Gonzalez has, guys. That's irrelevant, because the way he's running this city is he's bankrupting us. And the city council is too inept, or they're in collusion with him to bankrupt this place for the rich developers, which is another topic, but that's probably right on. Anyways, Cortinas said he is requesting the entire tax roll from the CAD and a list of the protests the agency has on file for the fiscal year. Now, why would the CFO want to see the entire tax roll from the CAD? Find out who's getting kickbacks. Now, I'm going to do a presentation on the CAD, and you guys will not believe who is on the CAD board and how CAD works. Once I present to you how the county appraisal district, how they decide what the valuations are, and who is deciding that they need to be, have increases of values, you're gonna go in there with pitchforks and torches, and you're gonna want to tear the place apart, because a lot of people do not understand how CAD works. Let me just put it this way: you're gonna see it and you're gonna be pissed. Anyways, Ordaz Perez expressed her concern that commercial property owners continue to challenge valuations against the CAD in efforts to reduce the taxable valuation of their properties. Well, of course, they're number one. Remember, guys, commercial property is number one. So of course they're gonna go contest it, man, because the taxes are too damn high here. Anyways, it further puts a burden on residential property owners. Because yes, she's right. Once the commercial property values go down, we have to, as property owners, cover more of the tax revenue. It's flipped. Like I said, commercial should be the most expensive, it should be the most collected revenue, and the people's property should be second. But no, we pay the most tax for our properties. Commercials comes in second, but it's still the highest in the nation for them. And it further puts burden on a residential property owner, she added, and is one reason the city council has initiated efforts to bring businesses to the city as part of economic development strategy. But these donkeys in city council are bringing restaurants, they're bringing entertainment venues, they're not bringing industrial companies, corporations, they're not bringing real corporations, they're bringing empty companies that don't do anything but build a small restaurant and a small this and small that, and they bring in no tax revenue. It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket for what the city needs. Their approach is ridiculous. That's why we got to vote them out. Anyway, let's go down. Mayor DeMargo and a few city representatives expressed interest in having members of the CAD present their findings next Monday. So come, CAD, sit in front of us and tell us the deal so that we can threaten you again. Because if you remember, Margo, there's a quote that he made on TV that he said, well, if CAD's essentially not doing their job, we got to figure out why we're paying them to do that, to do their jobs. If they're not, AKA, let's translate it, if they're not increasing values properly, then why should we pay them, the city and county pay them for not doing their jobs, not increasing values? It's just corrupt, man. And then here's the kicker. Margo says, it makes no sense. We may want to take some public action stating our concerns publicly. Guys, the people are telling you their concerns and you don't listen. I told Mayor Margo, if you watched one of those live streams I did a long time ago, it was a few months ago at Sam Morgan's little town hall or city or community meeting. I asked the mayor, I told the mayor, I said, you had high school students in the city council meeting with you a few weeks ago. Some high school and middle school got together and started looking at El Paso's budget. Okay, they started looking at the El Paso budget as a project. And those kids, okay, we're talking teenagers and middle schoolers, teenagers, approached the city council, presented to the city council in a PowerPoint presentation and told them the city population is not growing. What the expansion is happening in the city is nothing more than sprawling. So you're not bringing tax revenues. These kids, these are children that haven't even paid a day's rent in their life, told the city council exactly what all of us already know, and the city still doesn't get it because they're bought out, guys. The city council is bought out. There's no way else to explain their actions. They made deals. That's what happens when you dance with the devil. You make deals. You promise the world to developers. You can't produce. And what happens? It puts you in a burden. It puts you in a bind. And you become desperate. And so you present a $1 billion bond to the people. And you try to lie it by sprinkling glitter on unicorn crap. That's what it is. Unicorn droppings with glitter sprinkled on top. That's what that bond is going to be. And they're going to sell it. I guarantee they're going to try to sell this thing like it's the best thing on earth. Like, guys, get ready. The crime rate's going to skyrocket if you don't pass this bond. The roads are going to fall apart completely if you don't pass this bond. Guys, be wise, pay attention, and we're going to keep you up to date on that. Okay, so here's another thing. Here's the bonds worth $940 million would go into paving for street reconstruction, street resurfacing, police facilities, fire facilities, animal services, and public health. All of those things should be spent out of the annual budget that we give them with our taxes already, guys. That stuff right here, all these things that Aaron put in one sentence are the primary expenses of a city. That's the budget. That is your budget. That is the primary core of your budget. And this city can't seem to stop spending money on these developers and these projects because they've already sold out to the developers and signed contracts that we don't know about. Instead of spending money on our street construction, our resurfacing, our police facilities, our fire facilities, and our animal services and our public health, all that is what we already pay for every year in our taxes. And the city says, we need $1 billion more because we don't know how to spend your money properly. That's exactly what this bond is translating into, guys. Nothing else. And don't even be deceived, and don't even let them lie to you. Don't let them trick you, because that's exactly what it is. They're not spending the money properly. And the money that they do have, they waste it on things we don't need because they let these other things. This is, I like to say, this $1 billion bond is what happens when you kick the can down the road and you've come to the end of the road. There's no more room to kick the can down. You get a $1 billion bond coming your way, because that's the way it works. The kicking the can down the road comes to the end of the road eventually. And this is where we are in El Paso. Okay, so they provided some options, guys. City staff provided 2 options for the council to consider when placing items on the ballot. The first option would be to allow El Pasoans to vote by separate propositions along with the total amount per item, including police, fire, streets, public health, and animal services. So from the way I'm reading this is we'd have different items on the ballot, one for police, one for fire, one for streets, one for public health, and one for animal service. Essentially, they're telling us, okay, guys, what's more important to you? Pick. Pick which one of these items, police, fire, streets, public health, and animal services, is most important to you. What do you think we should spend money on, and what do you think we should not spend money on? Okay, so and the second couples police and fire together, and the rest would be the same. So police and fire would be one ballot, and it looks like streets, public health, and animal service would be separate items. Or police and fire would be together, and then streets, public health, and animal services would be together. No matter how you slice it, what that tells us, guys, is they know a $1 billion bond won't pass. They know people of El Paso are waking up, and we're not going to approve a $1 billion bond. So they're trying to split it up so that we can get it in little bite sizes and have to choose. Now what do we have to do? We have to look inside ourselves. Guys, what is more important to you? Streets and animals, or police and fire? We have a choice. This is, I can't say the word it is, but it's B and S, man. It's the initials BS is what this is. Making me decide what's more important, my streets, animal shelters, public health, or police and fire? I've already made that decision when I paid you my property tax. Back in the day when we gave the city council the authority to be in charge of our budget and our taxes, we told them, this is what's important to us. All of these things. This is what's important. Not the garbage you're trying to sell us, but this. This comes first. And it says here in the next paragraph, there are new concerns about what would happen if voters did not approve the bonds, specifically for public health. Oh my God. Oh my God, if we don't pass the bond for public health, people are going to die in the streets. The El Paso Department of Public Health would receive needed funds from the bond to make its move from 5115 El Paso Drive. Oh my God, what happens if they don't move? It says here, the Texas Tech University Health Science Center in El Paso is interested in the building. Well, too bad, Texas Tech, because my roads need to be paved, and my police need to be paid, and my fire department need to be paid. I'm not concerned about your wanting to move to another building, because that's not my priority. There's a priority here, okay? And if you want to move into a building, Texas Tech, you are a university, guys. You a university. Don't you have revenue to build your own building if it's that important? Why do you need to lean on my dollar? Why do you need to waste my dollar for your desire to expand your building? Right? And Texas Tech, guys, is working with the county. So that's county money too. And guess what? We're only talking about the city tax rate. We haven't even talked about the county tax rate. We haven't even talked about the hospital, the UMC's tax rate. We haven't even talked about EPISD's tax rate. We haven't even talked about community college tax rate. This is only one of the 5 beautiful ones that like to have their taxes increase every year. Just about. So guys, this is just one part of it. But if El Pasoans voted down the public health proposition, it's not clear how the department would set up shop elsewhere. And currently, there is nothing within the city budget to accommodate building a new facility for the health department or moving it elsewhere. Well, then you tough it up, man. Suck it up, guys. Make what you have work. I don't know about you guys, man, but I'm Mexican, all right? And being a Mexican in El Paso when in the 80s, when you don't have money, man, you make it work, guys. You become resourceful. See, I am proud of my Mexican heritage, and I'm proud of how resourceful I am when I gotta be when I don't have the money. I don't have the luxury to build a brand new room on my house and we had a new brother born. I didn't have that luxury of, oh, we need to go buy a brand new car because the other one is now 8 years old. I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have the option of going to McDonald's every weekend. Hell, I don't ever remember going to McDonald's, man. I had to make my budget work. My mom actually would count pennies to make ends meet, man. But because Texas Tech needs a new building, we're going to go ahead and charge you guys a $1 billion bond so that we can move them out, move whatever's in their place out, and put them in there and give you fancy roads, which they should be doing anyways. So it says here, in a pinch. Now, guys, listen to this part. Pay attention to this part very, very carefully because it's not new. In a pinch, the city can issue certificates of obligation, which is non-voter approved debt, to fund shortfalls. In a pinch, the city council can issue certificates of obligation, which is non-voter approved debt, which means the mayor can write off on a blank check and say, we need $40 more million. There's a blank check for $40 million. The people, they don't have a say in this because it's a certificate of obligation. It's a promise saying, we're going to pay you back. We're going to pay that money back. We're going to pay the money back, guys. Because I signed a blank piece of paper saying we're good for it. Man, can you imagine if you and I had blank checks like that? Man, my house would be bigger. My yard would be nice and clean. I would have a gardener. I would have a pool in my backyard. Man, I don't have that luxury to write blank checks like the city does. And we let them get away with it, guys. Because not many speak up. But they're aware that we're becoming aware now. Braden said that the city would need to wait 3 years before it would be able to issue certificates of obligation related to anything that's voted down in the bond initiative due to state laws. And thank you for the state. So what it tells me is that if this bond fails, they can't do squat with some of these things. They can't sign certificates of obligation for 3 years because it's state law. So they'd be on hold for a few years. Well, that's fine with me, man. That's fine with me. In the meantime, stop the arena. Stop the arena. Stop the arena. Stop the arena. Cut the budget back on that children's museum. Stop the arena. Cut the budget on the children's museum. I can go on and on. We can make a whole list. I bet you if all of us put our brains together, we could find $100 million, $200 million easily in the budget by cutting things that we really, really don't need. So let's go in here, and here's the highlight. District 2 City Representative Alessandra Anello asked if there is a backup plan for the health department if the provision is voted down in November, and District 1 City Representative Peter Schwartzwein floated the idea of eliminating it from the bond initiative. They're grasping at straws. Now, Representative from District 2, Anello, she's a good guy. She's on our team. That's all I could say. She's on our team. She's one of the saving grace of our city council, man. She's one of the loud voices for the people. Thank you, Anello, for doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. We're here. We got your back. Don't you worry. Don't throw in the towel. We're there for you. The council agreed to issue needed. Let me read this again. The council agreed the issue needed to be thought through longer and will dismiss it and discuss it next week. Okay. The council is screwed, guys. The city council is up against the wall. They know the roads were voted, what was it, top 5 worst roads in the nation. Just drive down Viscount. Just drive down Schuster. Pick a street, guys. Pick a street that wasn't paved this year and drive down it. It's bad. It's bad. They're bad. Okay? El Paso was voted I believe it was the top 5 worst road conditions in the country. All right? Terrible, terrible. Number 1, commercial tax rate in the country. Number 2, property tax rate, personal homestead tax rate in the country behind Detroit. Okay, industrial what are we, number 3 industrial tax rate? People say, why don't big corporations or factories move here, man? They're like one of the top taxed in the country. Oh, by the way, for you guys who live in apartments, if anybody's watching who lives in an apartment taxes is number 1 in the country in El Paso. So your rent, when the city raises taxes, your rent is going to go up regardless of what anybody tells you. It's just a natural thing because the taxes of those apartments is extremely high, and if the city clicks up a couple notches, so is your landlord a couple notches. When you rent a house, your rent's going to go up a couple notches. It's just the way it is, guys. There's no avoiding tax increases at this point in El Paso. So what the city council is in a bind with is this right here. Commercial valuations have fallen. They count on this money to do what they want to do. It goes like it's like I tell you, how many of you guys with your homes don't look ahead and say, we've got these bills already. We've got 2 credit cards maxed out. We got our car payments to do, and we got a mortgage. With all that, how many of you still go out and say, well, we should put the addition on the house anyways? You don't. You don't. People in El Paso, guys, we were not raised that way. We were raised to be very conservative with our money, to make ends meet. We were raised very humbly. We were raised to the point that if you can't afford it, you don't buy it. I grew up like almost everybody else did in the 80s, where my mother put my clothes on in a layaway in Kmart, and I didn't get my clothes for another about 3 or 4 months down the road, and they were a little bit smaller because I grew a lot faster than the clothes sustained themselves. So I was raised very humbly to not spend what you don't have, and I still try to live that way today. And most of us do, because we're on fixed incomes, or some of us retirees are on fixed incomes, and some of us are paying so much in our mortgages or our rents, and we can't afford the luxury things that the city thinks they could afford because they don't understand where we're coming from, guys. And so they just spend and spend and spend because the developers have already stuffed their pockets and their campaign funds with the money, made them promises. Hey, when you get out, you can work for my whatever firm or whatever, the little lobbying nonsense that goes on. And in return, we get the shaft and the money comes out of our pockets. Well, enough's enough, guys. Enough is enough, and it's time that we call this city out for what they are, and they're sold out. And I can go down the city council members one at a time, for the exception of 2 of them, District 2 and District 3. You got the other districts, those representatives have no idea and should never have been on city council to begin with. They do not know how to run a city. They have guys, I'll tell you again about District 5. I have nothing stopping me from telling you about Isabel Salcedo. It's like a friend told me, she's like a dressed potato sitting there, just voting the way her campaign financiers tell her to vote. I haven't heard her say a word in any city council meeting, not a peep. I don't even know if she's even there, or they just have a mannequin with clothes sitting there. She's done nothing, guys. She's just voted whatever the mayor says. She votes. She votes. I don't know what she does. Anybody tell me what she does? District 5? Anybody in District 5 or there in East El Paso? Tell me what your representative does. I also got another message from a good friend of mine down in South El Paso, in the south side, in Segundo Barrio, over in the south side of El Paso. Not in Segundo, but outside of it, but down there in District 8. He's tried to reach out to Sissy 3 times this month, and he hasn't heard anything, no email, nothing back from her. Nothing back from Sissy Lizarga. Nothing from her, from District 8's rep. These people don't care, guys. They're only concerned about doing what they said they were going to do for the people who funded their campaigns. And I'm not talking about those of us who might have donated to a person running. I'm talking about the big money, the Paul Fosters, the Woody Hunts, these guys. That's all they're concerned about, is making sure the agreements they made are done. And that's all they're looking to vote yes for. Whatever, that's where they're trying so hard to get this arena downtown, because they promised they would vote for it. And thank you to Max Grossman, who's put the major thorn in their side to stop them from building down there so far. And I pray that it doesn't happen. The city would be wise to just say, we're not spending the money at all. We're not spending the money at all. Because guys, think about it. Remember this chart. Where's my chart at? Remember this chart. If you remember that arrow on the bottom is from 2012 all the way up to 34% in 7 years. Guess what? We have no money left in the bond. It's been spent. Our 473 million is gone. It's gone. They spent it on stuff that they shouldn't have spent it on. The cost of the stadium, the cost of these water parks, the cost of everything is way more than what we approved. So they're bankrupt, guys. They don't have the money. They don't have the money. I did another video earlier in the year, maybe a month ago, that shows you exactly what happened and how they can go about increasing their debt as much as they do. And it's because of the fact that they have a cushion on their debt ceiling. Okay? They have a cushion on their debt ceiling of like $1.7 billion that they can increase debt for. And because of that, that's where they're shoving that $1 billion bond down your throat. They were counting on property values of commercial and homes. They were counting on all of these values going up so that they could say, oh, look, our values are going up. The city's worth more, so we're allowed to borrow more. But now that you see the commercial values going down from Aaron's article and what the CFO told us today, that the city's the commercial property values and the revenue's gone down. The little illusion that they painted in their little minds, their little, like I said, their little utopia that they were like, oh, we're going to be fine. Next year we're going to be able to do this, 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 and this. They can't. They can't. And guys, I don't care if the bond fails. The bond must fail. Otherwise, our skyrocketing taxes are going to go into afterburners, man. You've seen the space shuttle? Space shuttle launches, right? And it goes up and it hits a certain point where it finally like kicks in. You have these external containers pop off, these fuel cells pop off, and then another one kicks in and shoots it even higher, and it gives it enough thrust to shoot off into space out in orbit. That's what's going to happen to El Paso if we pass that bond. I'm telling you right now, you pass that bond that's coming out in November, we're going to be shot up in the orbit, man. And there's nothing bringing those taxes down. Because look at it, guys. Look at this chart. Look at the chart. The chart doesn't lie. These numbers, these digits on this chart, these plot points, are values for directly from the city budgets that they issue every year. These are not estimates. This is real factual numbers. This is real factual percentages off of 473 million in 7 years. Guys, I can't stress this enough. I'm like, I don't know what else to say, and I don't know how else to say it. You just need to share this video everywhere, man. You need to sit down your parents, you need to sit down your sisters, you need to sit down your fellow homeowners, your people at work, and you need to show them this video and other videos that I've made and Judd Burgess has made, Max Grossman has posted. Guys, we're not just wanting to be annoyances to the city. I have no desire to. I have better things in life to do than to be an annoyance. But when I see my taxes skyrocket and I see my fellow peers, my friends and family, my dad's on a fixed income. He's retired. Your families are retired on fixed incomes. We can barely pay our taxes to some extent. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle it if a $1 billion bond gets kicked in, guys? Look at your taxes right now. I want you to see if you can find your property taxes from 2012. I challenge you, dig up your property taxes from 2012 and look at it today in 2019 and calculate how much dollar value that has shot up. And of course we could say, oh, well, my property value shot up. Well, let me ask you this, property values. Your property values have shot up, right? What have you gotten out of it? Your park has what? A canopy over it now? What else? You got a I don't know, a baseball stadium. I don't know. What else did you get? What do you guys use? What part of your life has the quality gotten better in the last 7 years? Did we get a shopping center at the Fountains of Farah? Is that the quality of life? What quality of life do you have now that was not there before? See, that's what they trick us on. We're going to give you all this cool entertainment stuff, right? We're going to give you cool entertainment stuff. That's your quality of life. Vote for these bonds. You're going to get a better life. Dude, we're not getting a better life. We're getting taxed to death. Because every time your taxes go up, that's less money you have in your pocket to spend at these places. How many times have you been to Top Golf? Wait a minute. You guys with families. You guys spend with families. How many times have you gone to Chihuahuas this past year? The Chihuahuas game. Think about it. And when you go to Chihuahuas game, how much does it cost? I went to the movies the other day to see The Lion King. It was a good movie. But that night I bought the 2 tickets, which turned out to be, I think, like $8 or something. Then I bought 2 hot dogs, and I bought 2 hot dogs and had to be a water, man. Had to be a water. 2 waters. 2 hot dogs and 2 waters. One day, guys, one movie cost me over, like $50 for one movie. One movie! Chihuahuas is no different. Chihuahuas is no different. It's like twice as expensive to go and enjoy a Chihuahuas game because the concessions have skyrocketed in so long, in such period of time, in the past few years. Okay, that's what happens, guys. This is your quality of life. This is what you're getting, quality of life. This is El Paso, Texas. This isn't Austin, Texas. This isn't Phoenix, Arizona. We are in the desert, guys. We are isolated here. There is nothing you can do to bring population here. There is nothing you can do to entice corporations to move here, because there's nothing that they're going to bring that's going to attract the type of people that they feel should be working in those companies. And why is that? Because this city does not know how to promote our own talent at the universities that we have here. So our brothers and sisters and cousins and all that move out of town to go find work, because the city does not know how to promote what we do here at these universities to attract companies in so that they can hire these people. Because the number one thing that the people look for, companies look for when they move to a location, is local talent. This city is failing our brothers and sisters and our families by not promoting our talent. But more so, they're failing us by not spending the money properly that we trust them to spend, that we give them. They don't own us, we own them. Don't be deceived about what the city is and what the government is. We own the government. All right? We own the government, and your voice is just as valid as what they claim their voice is. They act like they rule the world. They act like they can do anything they want, and they can, because none of us truly speak up loud enough. Now, there's a bunch of people starting, and they have been, and some people in the past, like Judd and a few others, have already been going, but there's a lot of people catching on now. And I tell you, I say to the city, you saw what happened at Lost Dog, and I'll tell you again, you're going to see it happen again with this bond. We're going to make sure it doesn't pass, and we're going to make sure the people who get elected in 2020, and I'm talking to you, Sam Morgan, we're going to make sure people who run for office are given the time of day to be heard, and the people in this district and every other district where there's going to be a race are aware exactly of what you've done and how you've neglected what the people asked for. I promise you that. It's not going to be easy anymore. Paul Foster and you guys spend all the money you want. It's not going to be easy anymore, because the ground game is kicking in. The ground game is going to start kicking in. All right, guys. I just want to leave it at that. All right. Thank you for watching. You got to share this video. I don't care who you say it to, who you show it to. Show it to everybody, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can go on forever about this city, but I'm going to leave it at this, just so you guys can go back, watch this, watch it with your families, let them hear what happens, so that when the bond comes out, we can vote the proper way and turn that down and shove it in the city's face and tell them, do your jobs right. Spend the money on what we need, which is roads, police, healthcare, all the health services, animal services, with the money we already give you. You've been given your allowance. Spend it the way it's supposed to be spent. All right, El Paso. Thank you for watching. This has been from Sun City Live Streams. I thank you for watching. We've reached 1,000 followers. I mean, 1,000 likes, over 1,000 followers. Guys, thank you so much. I do this for your benefit. I bring live streams to show you what's going on in the city. I enjoy doing it. I love doing it. It's a getaway from my regular life. And I'll keep doing it as long as you guys support me. I make $0 off of this. I don't want any money. I do it just because the city needs a platform. The city needs to be able to be seeing stuff without the media's filter, without the media's bias. You get it straight from me, straight from a source that's not have any. I have no agenda other than showing you exactly what's happening, and it's not good most of the time. But I'm going to show you anyways. So thank you guys. Share, like this Sun City live streams. Share the video. Follow me as much as you can, and follow. I have other things. Like I said, we've got this contest coming out. These little, like I said, it's going to be the Master Scavenger competition. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it. It's hopefully you guys win some of these prizes that we got. And again, guys, it's already 9 p.m. I'm going to say good night, and thank you for watching. Have a good night.